Okay, so good morning. We're out here again at Eastern Wharf. You know, our firefighters have been working since yesterday. It's almost been 24 hours now. It's going to continue going on. This morning we have Fire Chief Derek Menard, Chief Fire Investigator Fred Anderson, and Mike Rose from Development Services, all available to answer any questions that you may have. Before they get started, I just want to thank our media partners again for coming out, really helping us with key messages that enabled our award-winning, world-renowned fire department to continue to fight these flames and be able to get all the equipment and crews here that they needed to. Without you guys putting that out, we wouldn't have been able to really manage the traffic situation yesterday. So without further ado, any questions can be directed to the appropriate individual.
I guess we'll go ahead and start just talking about the fire itself. I know we saw some information put out earlier that there were still some hot spots burning. Where are we right now in terms of actual flames, those hot spots, and everything being 100% out?
Again, Derek Menard, D-E-R-I-K-M-I-N-A-R-D, Fire Chief. Where we are today, we have 7 fire units on scene that are still surrounding the structure. And we have hot spots on the east side of the building. And so it's kind of the midpoint of the structure. And at this point, they're going to continue to put out the hot spots, put out the fires that are flaring up, and really about babysitting the fire. The building itself collapsed into itself, and so it makes it difficult to get it fully extinguished. And with the damage that there is, it's going to take many days to probably get it fully extinguished on the hotspots. But the fire itself is contained. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to cause any more damage.
Chief, with regard to the damage, I know that big crane right in the middle of everything sustained some damage. Yes. Is that going to have to be dismantled, taken down? Is it structurally sound at this point?
At this point, we do not know if the crane is structurally sound. We did speak to the construction company last night, and they have an engineer coming in that's going to take a look at that and determine what the best way to remove that. That was a concern throughout the entire firefight because it was in the middle of the fire. And we had an aerial master stream focused on that specifically in order to keep it from collapsing.
Have firefighters been able to actually go inside yet, or is everything still kind of on standby and everyone outside the structure until that danger is gone?
The damage that you see in front of you, the building, firefighters are not going inside into that part of the building. On the north end of this complex, there's another apartment building that's attached, and that building we have been inside, and part of the firefight did take place in that building itself. So we had to come at it from the north to the south, and so yeah, they've been inside that part of the building and there's another building in between. And so they've been in and out of those 2 structures, but not the one that's right behind me.
Was Marine 1 utilized for that fight?
Marine 1 was utilized. So Marine 1 is our fireboat, and so it's on the Savannah River, and it supplied water to all of the fire apparatus on the east side of the structure. And with that, it was flowing 7,000 gallons a minute of water to all of the fire apparatus. And Marine 1 was pumping water from about 1 in the afternoon well into the night. So the fireboat really helped us.
A lot of water flowing. Is there any environmental concerns at this point? Water running off into the river, any chemicals, anything like that was burning at this site?
Yeah, we do have runoff. I cannot speak to specific hazards. I mean, that's something that we're concerned of when the storm sewer collects the water and that type of thing and gets treated and so forth. But there is some runoff into the river just naturally with the location. But I can't offer anything specific as to hazard.
As far as water resources, any issues with hydrants? Did water have to be brought in? What were we looking at in terms of water?
Well, one of the things that we are is an ISO Class 1 city, and that people think of the fire department. But really, a big piece of that is our water department, infrastructure and development. And the hydrants that surround this building, this whole complex, were fantastic. We did not have any water supply issues. Marine 1 was a part of that to help us with it. But from the west side of the building and the south where we are, the fire hydrants were great, and we had all the water we needed. We did talk to the water department, and they did increase water pressure to this area for us, which increased our water even more so. And so, yeah, that was not an issue.
And that's something that's gone over in training, right, in terms of diverting those resources in the event that something like this happens.
That's correct, yeah. So we do work with the water department in that specifically. We do have pumps throughout the city of Savannah, in that when we do have an area with a large fire, large incident, we can increase pressure to those regions to help boost our water. Again, this is on the river, so we had the Fireboat 2, which was a great resource.
Chief, do you know just yet what fueled this fire?
What fueled the fire?
Yes.
This fire, the type of construction, it's a lightweight construction. It's basically 2x4s and wood. And so the fire itself, once it got going, it was a wind-driven fire. The winds out of the west to the east were significant. And anytime we deal with a wind-driven fire, it really makes it complicated because it pushes the fire through the building very quickly. And our streams, it affects our streams. When we flow water into the building, the wind can also affect that as well. So that helped fuel this fire.
Chief, you actually suited up and went in to fight this fire. Talk about, how difficult it was in those conditions inside.
So I did not go inside a building. We were in a defensive posture at that point. From the crews that did go inside the building, it was very difficult. It was really trying to find access into the building itself. Inside the building, it's just not straight hallways. So you would go to the hallway, you'd have to make a right, you'd have to make a left, and trying to get through the structure was very difficult. So taking hose lines in. We were creative in working with the construction company with the sprinkler system and the standpipe system in place. We were able to get that operational. Our crews were able to tie into the standpipe system, which was supplemented by our fire apparatus. And they were able to use that on the different floors of the building, which helped us in that method. So it's very complicated. And with the growth of the fire and the way the fire was spreading throughout the structure, basically the fire was moving from the south to the north. And with that, it was really trying to make a stand where we could stop the fire from spreading even further.
How are those firefighters that were kind of on the front lines doing at this point? I know that there's going to be many days where, trying to get those hot spots out, and they've been working through the night. So how do they kind of recover, and how they're doing?
Well, when we have any type of structure fire, and especially one of this size, we set up what is called rehabilitation. So after a crew, they use their air cylinder, they go through their air bottle, and then typically after 2 air bottles, we have them go to rehab, is what we call it. In the rehab, there's chairs where they can sit down, they can take their gear off. We have water, we have Gatorade, we have food for them, and then they have a mandatory rest period there. Before they can return to the fire line, we check their pulse and we check their blood pressure, and we record all that data to make sure that the firefighters are able to go back. We get to a point where when somebody's gone through the rehab process 2 times, we start looking at removing them from the fire line. Last night, crews were going through it 3, maybe even 4 times. As long as they met the medical standard to go back in, then they were able to do that. It was very labor intensive, so we had approximately 20 resources on scene, which was about 100 firefighters and staff. Then at a point where crews were working to exhaustion, we brought in mutual aid partners, Medicaid partners. We had Chatham County Fire and their EMS divisions with us. Garden City and Pooler both sent resources here to help us out. It was important that we started a crew rotation to help keep our people fresh and get them off scene as soon as we could. We brought in firefighters from Savannah that were off duty. We staffed apparatus with them to cover the rest of our city, and we had a rotation going, and I know they're exhausted today.
Does the fire have to be completely out for this investigation to start? As far as what caused it?
So the investigation process, we kind of shifted into that phase, and we are starting to work with the contractors on site, gathering witness statements from workers that were actually in the building working, any video or photographs that may have been taken at the site yesterday. So we're already in the investigative stage. As far as getting into the site for doing a site evaluation to try to determine a cause and even narrow down the area of origin, we will have to wait until some of those hot spots are knocked out of the areas where we need to get to. So we are in a waiting game for that, but we are working the backside of the investigation, I guess would be the better way to say it, doing the interviews and gathering as much information as we can from people who were on site when the fire started.
Are we anticipating days, hours? What are we looking at in terms of that process fully to start?
Getting into the scene, I would say days. We are at the mercy of whenever we can get these hot spots knocked out. And we're dealing with a lot of collapse that's, concealing some of the fires, so we can't get to the hot spots that we need to get to. And we don't want to put anyone in there. We want to make sure it's 100% safe for our investigators before we go in and start doing it.
By all indications, again, fire started 5th floor? Yeah? Is that what we...
upper floors, 5th, 6th floor area, upper floors is what we're looking at. That's from preliminary photographs and videos we've seen. That's what it appears. I think we're a little early now to make any speculations on exactly where it was at, but the indications we have say it was in the upper floors.
Who do you have helping you on this investigation?
We have resources from the ATF, and State Fire Marshal's Office is also going to send some resources down to help us. And we're utilizing them because this is a pretty complex and large investigation. There's a lot of people to be interviewed. There's a lot of material to move around in the scene, and so we're fortunate to have those resources available to us here right here locally.
Were there a lot of people here yesterday working on the site when this fire happened?
We're working now to try to narrow down that number. We're getting some preliminaries between 200 and 300 people on site.
And no one was injured. I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
The last number we got is everyone is accounted for, no injuries otherwise.
In terms of, again, the damage to the buildings, we obviously see this one here behind you. The chief mentioned the backside structure closer to the river. There was also an effort to fight fire there. What about the parking garage? Are there any issues there as well, or any structural damage that may cause that to be, repaired?
As far as I know, I don't know of any issues with the parking garage. The parking garage is of a type 1 construction. It's fire resistant. So I wouldn't expect to see a lot of damage there. I don't know of any.
Right, with the parking garage, Mike Rose, M-I-K-E-R-O-S-E. With the parking garage structure, like he said, it's a type 1 construction. It's concrete, so it's fire resistant. But there will be evaluations after everything is finished up. Any of the engineers will evaluate any of the damage that was done to it, anything that would actually have to be remediated before that. So along with any of the structure of the concrete, any of the concrete slabs, anything with the building itself.
What's going to have to come down and start from scratch?
That'll kind of be determined after, once the investigation is finished. They will determine what actually is going to be usable, what's going to be salvageable. That's going to be something that the engineers will actually decide.
Chief, I know that Savannah Fire has been training, learning how to use drones. Was that something that you were able to utilize in this at all?
I'm sorry, to use what?
To use drones.
Drones. We were not able to use drones on this fire due to the wind conditions. So we did have them out, and they were not able to fly due to the winds. One of the things that we had is SEMA worked with us on this fire, and they are on scene with us now. And we had their helicopter, and so they were flying over this fire the entire night. They stopped flying about 1 a.m. and then they used their camera for us, and they also have white heat that they can take a look at, infrared, and so we can see hot spots and really help us direct our hose lines. We had a TV monitor with us at the command post, and we had a direct feed, and we were in contact with the helicopter pilot and his crew member. And they would fly the fire, and then they would help us direct our hose lines because we could not see how effective they were on top of the building or getting into some of these areas, and the helicopter was crucial in our efforts.
In terms of the response around the area, I know police were really quick to come down here, set up a firm perimeter. We did still have some guests over at the adjacent hotel. Heard some concerns about not being evacuated necessarily. Were they ever in any danger from smoke or any of the fire?
No. Yeah, the occupancies that are adjacent to the building were not in any danger. And then with the wind conditions, as difficult as they were, going from west to east, that's the direction that the smoke went. So yeah, so the neighboring Marriott Hotel and then anything else in this area, we're never in danger.
And obviously this was a huge fire. How does this compare to other fires that you've fought in Savannah throughout your career? Is this kind of, one of the biggest, or how would you compare that?
Savannah Fire has a history of some very large fires. We had the sugar refinery, we had a warehouse with tires, and other fires. Since I've been to Savannah, we had a church fire, and just other large structures. Something like this is we call it a mega structure. That's really what it is. And this is something that we do not see very often burn to this extent. And the fires are, So I've been in the fire service for 30 years, and throughout my 30 years, I've seen a lot of very large fires. And I can say from my personal experience, this is probably the largest. Savannah, unfortunately, we have them here, and we have a top-tier fire department that is able to handle them.
I mean, the road closures have been lifted. Is there anything that you obviously want to ask people to continue to stay clear of the area, walking around here? Might want to check it out, but what do you want to say to those people?
Yeah, so right now, General McIntosh and Bay Street are open again. We do not have any road closures. We do have the area, we do have a perimeter here at the fire scene that we do not want people coming into this construction site area. People didn't have access to it anyway, so it shouldn't hamper the day-to-day activities. So.
And specifically, forgive me, I just want to make sure I had it nailed down. This was the apartment portion, of the development?
Right. Yes.
Okay, and then the back side where there was also fire, that was...
It's still part of the apartment complex itself. There will be retail on the ground floors, but so obviously the entire thing was affected. But
in terms of the timeline for them, the developers, I mean, obviously this has to be cleared out and assessed, but how far do you anticipate this pushing the project back?
At this point, it's a little bit hard to tell. They'll have to go through the investigation process and everything else first. That's real hard to tell right now.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.